With acquiring Jimmy Butler in the 2019 free agency, the Miami Heat have had one of the most impressive team performances this year, especially with the jump Bam Adebayo has made to become an all-star alongside Jimmy Butler. They not only have the chance to make the run in the playoffs, but they also have the best flexibility for this year's free agency. With this type of room as a playoff team, they can certainly improve their team if they play their cards right. Hey everyone, welcome to another video of DC NBA Junkie, where I'll be discussing NBA related content basically every single day. I'm continuing a series called NBA Team Futures, where every other day I'll be deep diving into a different NBA team and talking about my stance on that team moving forward from the NBA hiatus. If that sounds interesting, then feel free to tune in on some fresh NBA content. But before I begin today's video, feel free to subscribe, like, and comment down below how you feel about the Miami Heat's team moving forward from the NBA hiatus. Now, without further ado, let's take a look into the future of the Miami Heat.
You got the best advice, but I won't call. No way. I know I'm grown, so I do not need y'all. I got it. And if I get locked on my face of law, oh yeah.
To begin, I'm going to talk about the team overview for the Miami Heat. Through 65 games they performed, and they got a 41-24 record, which got them 4th in the Eastern Conference, right below the Boston Celtics. And they have a and what I see in the Miami Heat is they are one of those teams that is not exactly excelling in one thing. They're really good at both offensively and defensively, but statistically they're middle of the pack in those fields. But what makes them such a good team and why they've been able to succeed this season is kind of beyond the stats. It's through the players and sort of individual statistics, but also just a team collective effort to come together and play for each other. They have a really good organization there in Miami, and their system under Eric Spoelstra is really and powerful, and that's why they do so well as a team. And especially with the leadership of Jimmy Butler, which I'll get into later. But like I said, they're kind of average offensively and defensively. They have they're 15th in the league in points per game, 25th in field goals made, so they're not necessarily, statistically, they're not like outstanding there, and that's just kind of one of my slight concerns there. But they have 16th rebounds, 20th in steals, and 23rd in blocks. But I do have to give them credit. They do excel statistically in assists. They're top of the league there, and three-pointers made. But I don't think their game, I'm not going to say I'm going to judge this team based off statistics, because that's totally false. They're a really talented team, and I don't think that's a valid way to judge a team. But some notable players, three-point shooters that I want to credit are Duncan Robinson, having one of the best three-point shooters in our league. Tyler Herro having one of the impressive three-point shooting years for a rookie. Goran Dragic having an impressive year, and so is Jay Crowder, the guy that they were able to trade for in the Grizzlies and Heat trade. And I think this team has really come together in this short 1 year. And with the development of a couple players, including Bam Adebayo and Kendrick Nunn, I'm really excited for this team moving forward, and even in these NBA playoffs, to see what they can do, especially against the top teams in the league. Next, I'm going to go into Jimmy Butler's leadership, because I think this is one of the parts of this team is what made them has made them successful this year. I know that Jimmy Butler historically has not been one of the best players in terms of succeeding in the playoffs, with the Bulls, having some leadership. He's always wanted to lead a team, and he's getting that opportunity now. In Minnesota, he wasn't exactly there, and even in Philly, he was just kind of traded there, and I don't think the Philadelphia 76ers made the right trade there, because they were bringing in a guy who really who thrives of kind of being his own man, and that's not what he was doing there. But as Jimmy Butler, his stats this year weren't amazing, but overall, he's just been on one of his best teams, and I think how to credit him there is through his defensive presence. He's always been a very good defensive player, and being a clutch shooter. He's always been a guy that you can hand the ball to in the crunch time, and you can guarantee that he'll always put up a good shot, and you have a very good chance of getting that in. He's been statistically one of the best clutch shooters in the league, and aside from that, his points per game and it's just his stats overall improve when he's playing in the playoffs. He was averaging about 17 in the season, throughout his career, but 17.7 points per game in the playoffs. So he's obviously a better player throughout the playoffs. And so some stats to kind of say are, he has a 123 offensive rating, averaged in his career, which is really impressive, and 108 defensive rating, which is, that split right there is really impressive for a guy throughout his whole career. His impact is certainly tremendous, and for years to come, I think it's going to be really important for them, and I think that's why they're doing so well right now. And that's why I'm really proud of the Miami Heat for making that, being able to acquire him, and I'm excited to see how his leadership is going to hopefully impact this team beneficially throughout these playoffs and through the future to win potentially a title. Next, I'm going to go into trade for a star. It's a little bit of a question for me. They're a strong team, I'm not going to deny that, but what kind of is one of the things that holds this team back is there are games I've seen this season that they've definitely struggled in that I think they shouldn't be struggling in. The top teams in the league usually don't have issues with weaker teams in the league, but I think this team sometimes has those issues. I've seen them have a couple of poor performances. They're, just inconsistencies shown. So I think trading for another star is ideal because this team is kind of young, and it's also kind of on the veteran side too. There's a couple of veterans, but there's potential, mostly young guys. And I think ideally, I'm going to talk about one guy here, but Bradley Beal could be, and he's also been rumored to have been a potential trade target for this team. And for Bradley Beal, how I think he could fit into this team, he's obviously a great scorer. We've seen that in Washington, especially the past couple of years. I think personally he was snubbed for the All-Star appearance this year. He was averaging close to 30 points per game. He's proven to be a great offensive player, and I think Miami can use that because they're not exactly, like I said before, they're not leading the league in in an offensive or a defensive category. They are other than three-pointers, they're just kind of in the middle of the pack for most things, and that's kind of something that's a reflection of how their performances against the stronger teams and the weaker teams have been. Just a inconsistency there. So I think that Bradley Beal could be a potential trade candidate, or maybe another guy, maybe a guy you could put at the 4 or at the 2 guard, but I don't know exactly a star who's on the fence of being potentially traded other than Bradley Beal. But I also want to just give a credit to Bam Adebayo for being a very outstanding player this year. His jump this year to becoming an all-star and averaging 23 points per game has been really important for this team. And I think that's been, that alongside, another star with Bam and Jimmy Butler and the other array of talented players in this team could be really important and could really impact them in a positive way moving forward. Next, I'm going to go into free agency view, and I'm actually really excited to talk about this because this team has one of the best, probably the best free agency view to talk about right now. And not in terms of the free agents they have, but they have Goran Dragic, they have Solomon Hill, they have Myers Leonard, they have Jay Crowder, Udonis Haslem, Derek Jones Jr. are all their free agents. Now, the ones I think they need to re-sign are the crucial ones: Derek Jones Jr., Jay Crowder, and Goran Dragic. They definitely should try and go out and to re-sign these players. Myers Leonard, if they could get for a cheaper contract than the $11 million he was making this year, then I would agree with that. And personally, I don't think Solomon. So the thing about this team is that they can have an upwards of $26 million in cap space this year if they play their cards right. And I think what's really important about the Miami Heat is that they were able to, when they were trading with the Memphis Grizzlies, is they were getting rid of players such as Justice Winslow and James Johnson on those long contracts that were guaranteed for a couple of years, and they brought in guys on expiring deals like Solomon Hill, and they even before with Myers Leonard and even Jay Crowder. They have a couple guys now that they have on expiring deals. I know they brought Iguodala in, but they'll have to work with that, and they have a team option on him in the 2021-22 season, so they have room with that. But their cap is really dependent on who they re-sign and stuff. But like I said before, this team has a lot of flexibility with their free agency, and I think players that could work with this team are Danilo Gallinari, Fred VanVleet, Montrezl Harrell, and Serge Ibaka. These are the top tier players that they can potentially re-sign. But what I think they should do is they should keep this free. They should maybe sign a couple guys who are maybe willing to come to their team. Maybe those kind of guys I just mentioned, and see if they want to come for 1 to 2 year deals, and maybe not guarantee the second year. And then what you can do is prepare yourself for the 2020-2021 offseason, because the 2021 free agency, because there's potential for Giannis, Kawhi Leonard, and Paul George, and a couple other great basketball players that could come to this team if they play their cards right, because they have a lot of cap space flexibility. And I think that there's a lot of interesting things they can do now, and they could do potentially, that could build their team for now, or they could save for the future. So I think there's a lot of interesting things that the Miami Heat can do with this. And lastly, for the NBA season resumption prediction, I just basically give my predictions of how they're going to do in the NBA resumption, assuming that the league does come back in late July. And for this team, I really think they need to move up seeds in those 8 games they play before the NBA playoffs, because they will. If they don't, then they're going to have to play the strong Milwaukee Bucks team, or if they drop. But I don't. That's never something you want to, encourage a team to do. And I think, due to this team not really excelling in a category, and the Milwaukee Bucks is just having one of them being better than last season, and Giannis being better than his MVP self last year, I see them as a second round exit if they are a 4 or 5 seed. But I said, if they're a 3 seed, I think there's potential for an Eastern Conference Finals, or maybe they can surprise us with the Milwaukee Bucks. I just don't know, because anything could happen during this period. But ultimately, my biggest question moving forward is how they play free agency for this year, and kind of like for next year, because I think Pat Riley is a guy who likes to take gambles. He did it in 2010 with the Bosh, Wade, and LeBron, and they won 2 titles. So I definitely think, knowing him, that he's going to, with this cap, either sign players for non-guaranteed for a small number of years, or he will just fill out he would just try to guarantee that he will have the most cap space available for 2021 offseason, because then after that you could surround Jimmy Butler, Bam Adebayo with potentially a superstar, and that could really help their team moving forward. So I'm really excited to see what they're going to do with this cap space through this free agency and through the 2021 free agency. And yeah, with that being said, that will be the end of today's video. If you enjoyed, feel free to subscribe, like the video, and comment below, like I said before, how you feel about the Miami Heat organization moving forward. I'm definitely excited for their free agency, more, and maybe their potential NBA resumption chances. But yeah, that will be the end of today's video. If you enjoy, like I said before, thanks for watching, and have a great day.